Okay, so we are live. Welcome everyone to the story room. We will give you a few minutes to get here before we actually begin. A few seconds, and while we're waiting, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what I'm trying to do here and what we're going to be doing with Dina. I just realized I
Di.
didn't ask you exactly how to pronounce your
Just
name,
die like the
Dinah,
princess.
today.
No, it's just
Yes,
die like the princess.
Di. Okay, so what we're going to be doing with Jai today. So, this is the story room, and the story room within the Hero Wine Society is actually made up of two parts. We have the Story Room magazine, which is where we publish the best writing from our midlife writer friends on Substack, both in fiction and in nonfiction. And it's within the Story Room magazine half that we actually talk about craft, which is what we're going to be talking about today with Di. And then we also have the Story Room Salon, which is going to be happening on August 16th. And that is where we discuss theme and we talk about how it impacts our lives as midlife writers. So, as you probably all know, the theme for this quarter's Story Room was the Threshold Guardian. And so the request was that all of the writing that we received would be on this theme that we are talking about today, which is the Threshold Guardian. So this is the way it's going to work. I am going to um, read Di's piece aloud so she can hear it read out loud, which I think is always really fun for a writer who's never actually heard it aloud before. And then we are all going to talk about the piece. And I'm going to ask some craft questions, and we're going to get Di's thoughts and feelings on the piece itself. And I would really, really encourage everyone within the chat to join in with any questions or concerns that they have. So we're going to start with reading Di's piece. Di submitted the prize-winning essay, so the nonfiction, this quarter to the Story Room first issue of The Threshold Guardian. And the reason I think why Di is the winner is not just because of her really beautiful craft, but also because most essays that are about self-doubt, they just describe it. But this essay about self-doubt, it gives the self-doubt itself a body and a voice and a manicure. And then it tracks that manicure across the whole piece until it tells you that the relationship has changed. So I'm actually going to read Di's piece aloud now. Are you ready, Di?
It's exciting. You're right. It's like you never get your words read back to you. It's fantastic.
You never do. And so after I read it, we'll talk a little bit about you personally, and then we'll go into the craft. So let's read first. This essay is called, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get to the right line here. This is my first time reading too. Okay, this essay is called She Got Her Hair Done. I can feel the pulse in my neck under my thumb. Somewhere over my shoulder, I could swear I hear the scratch of someone daintily clearing their throat. It's an odd way to sit when I read my screen, but sometimes I rest my chin in my hand, positioned like a gun, index finger curled across my lip, my chin resting in the open curve where my thumb sweeps down under to my neck. A perfectly formed cradle that saves my wrists the agony of bending almost 90 degrees back in supporting the weight of my head. It also, ironically, is a perfect bracing position when I'm about to try to do something she doesn't want me to do. There's a guardian at the threshold of your own expansion, like a jealous frenemy, who needs you to know that your place is exactly where she thinks you belong, which is less than. I first started writing again after years in the background of someone else's work instead of my own. I had managed to keep my analytical brain active, suggesting alternative narratives, editing passages, and helping shape the framework of articles and books for my ex. But I had stopped hearing my own voice. High school English assessment was easy for me. An essay or a poem would come to me in my mind's eye, and I would just write what I saw. University creative writing subjects were a joy. Sitting in rooms with desks in a circle, and I was challenged constantly by professors, by tutors, by gleeful, insistent her. If you were so good, wouldn't somebody have noticed you by now? So, what if you have a knack for moving the story along? Quick stories are still boring. She never let up. She was with me then, and here now, it would have been very easy to mistake her for a fire breathing dragon. She was enormous. Are you calling me fat? She sat right there every time I stared at the cursor working on the blank page, sitting at a desk, not hitting send because I know it's just not good enough. Are you kidding, calling yourself a writer? Who are you to have anything of value to say? You know you're too old for this, right? Nobody cares. The many faces she shielded me from swam in front of me. I was 11 years old again, hearing I was such a dork for wobbling my voice when I sang at assembly in a class performance. 12, asking my mother, why does Nana hate me? The frustrated early 30s me with a boyfriend shouting, why can't you just be normal? A trainer leaning in to say, listening to you made me want to bash my head through the computer screen. My jiggling leg under the table tells me I have not gotten wiser yet. Even when I used to be a performer, I was my own Simon Cowell. If I was offered or given a role, there was no stopping me. Feeling chosen and selected seemed to give me permission to behave as exactly that. I was the same artist with the same ability, but when auditioning, begging to be chosen, disaster. She always shook her head in performative pity. Why would they choose you? Everyone here is better. It was relentless. I got stuck in a death loop. I didn't know how to start again, so I spent far too long trying to set up my blog website. I managed to convince myself that I was only waiting to get that right, so I had a place to upload my writing, instead of writing the posts so they would be ready to go when I actually managed the setup. I could not push past the guardian into the room where I could breathe and pretend to be somebody worthy. No ticket, no entry. Fake it till you make it, right? Couldn't even do that. Meanwhile, she was adjusting that walkie talkie and radioing ahead of me to make sure I didn't try another door. I had tried other ways of getting past her. As my marriage was dissolving, I went back to school and did something that I have consistently done almost my entire adult life. Back to study something, get great grades, and then do absolutely nothing with it. I have diplomas and a degree and mountains of debt. I think I was just finding something to focus on that was safe because my heart and hope weren't in danger from it. I could justify that there was no one else to let down if I failed because I'd paid to do this, to learn something. So there was nothing riding on it, just an ego boost if I did well. I did do well. Looking back, I was very good at it, with a sharp eye and great ideas. I could always see other people's work clearer than my own because there was no whisper in my ear about them. One of the other students had missed a vital component in his assessment and was nearly in tears at the amount of work it would take to redo. One look over, and I was able to spot a solution that was brilliant in its simplicity. She shrugged as she tossed her hair. His work was better to begin with, so it was much easier for you to fix than anything you came up with. Sigh. I ended up using a bit of what I'd learned to work for a couple of years in an adjacent career. It wasn't a good long term fit, which left me back where I started, another failed venture avoiding what it was that I really wanted to do, which was to write and create. She rubbed her hands together and spoke. Goody, now I really get to have some fun. In the process, she noticed her nails looking a little bit ragged and got those done, all the better to point out my flaws with. So I just let her sit there. She was happy. She even got her hair done too. I have tried to push that bloody guardian out of the way so many times over the years, but she's a wily one. She just keeps on getting back up, giving herself a little brush off and me an enticing smile and says, "See, I'm back." But lately I've noticed she's looking a little disheveled, even a little pissed off that I'm sometimes finding it easier to make my way past. All this time, I've assumed she just wanted me to stay invisible, less than, when actually, she was the only one keeping score, keep me safe. Noticing all those times I've been visible when someone had hurt me, or I had been disappointed or embarrassed, sometimes almost to the point of no return. Of course, she wanted me to stay hidden. I didn't press send that day, nor the next. She still pressures me to look again, but she no longer gets to decide if I allow myself to be blocked or push past her. What I was working on that day was not right. It was not from the heart. My early attempts at creating were so writery. I had no depth, lots of flowery language and descriptions from an outside perspective, like I'd forgotten I had anything to offer that was personal and unique. I was working on a collaboration with a friend about divorce, and I wrote about the aftermath of mine like I was high above it, looking down at the carnage yet somehow separate from it. Delving deeply into how it felt to be wrecked and broken seemed so personal and exposing that I simply chose to offer counsel, to explain what can happen imparti- impartially with metaphor and analogy. It was artifice dressed in black. I didn't write that. I was 48, with a marriage breaking down, being told all the ways I had failed him, sitting in my bedroom with someone who hadn't been able to find it for months. Even though our recent 10th anniversary card, he had written all the ways he loved me more now. That card had reached me while in the depths of depression, and I thought it showed that while I was struggling within myself, I had someone who had my back. When I screamed that at him, all he could say was that he was trying to find it again and he thought that would help. I see you. I don't love you. She'd taught me so very well to hold back anything that could give people something to latch onto or point or laugh at. I'm still finding my way past her on that one. She wasn't being cruel. She was just tired of standing guard for decades, hoping so hard that for a safe life, that it didn't matter if it was a small one or a quietly disappearing and fading into the furniture. Somewhere along the way, I think we came to a truce. Sitting here right now, she's quieter and less eager to interject. I notice she's gotten her hair done again in a much softer style, and her nails are no longer talons, but neatly squared and buffed. She doesn't seem so interested anymore in pointing out my flaws. Rather, she helps me find the comfort in expressing them. Then, for shits and giggles, she tugs the rug to make me stumble enough to really force me to stand up for myself. I still fall a lot of the time, but at least now sometimes I find feet. My pulse beat steadily under my thumb as I heard a whispered, "Are you sure?" She cleared her throat again, but this time I recognized it for what it was, an invitation, not a rebuke. I smiled. I hit send and stayed upright. For the first time in years, the breath catching over my shoulder became a whispered, "Well done." She smoothed her hair a little grudgingly. "Till next time." So lovely, Di.
That's actually a little confronting when it's your, you know, very personal stuff being read back at you and you're just hearing it like it's someone else's story. It's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's really touching.
It's a lovely, lovely piece. Before we go into the questions that I have, and hopefully that some of the folks on the chat have as well, because we've got quite a few people here, I just want to give you a little chance to introduce yourself and your Substack. You will also be in attendance at the salon, but here's a chance to let people get to know you behind that lovely piece that they've just heard, which is all your words.
That's actually probably the most exposed I've been in writing since I started back into it, so you actually know me a little better than a lot of people do. Um, I Mine is Unarchived Woman because especially after going through the divorce, but hitting midlife, hitting menopause, I started hearing the thing we all hear is, "I feel lost. I don't know who I am anymore. I'm empty. I'm worthless," etc., etc. And I remember feeling completely empty and completely pointless and worthless. And what I realized as I was working through that and doing all that you do to get yourself together is that none of it's lost. We actually just put it aside and we start really, really early when we do that. We start from childhood when someone teases us for wobbling our voice and you tuck away anything that causes edges of the square you going through that round hole. You start shaving yourself off. So I realized we didn't lose it, we just archived it, and I felt better understanding that none of it was gone. I still had access to all of it, but I had to find the access again, I had to find the key, I had to open the drawers, I had to reintegrate, and so as I kept doing that process, I just kept wanting to speak about it, I kept wanting to write about it or just to help myself process and get myself into that. So, yeah, and everything I wrote there was true. I used to do the work. And when you get divorced and somebody, has only their name on it, that you literally start from scratch. Like to all intents and purposes, I am starting now, um, which was confronting, but worth it because I think it shows you what we can do as the women that we are, I
Absolutely.
believe.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that so many parts of this essay are going to be so resonant to everyone when we get to the salon. And we're talking actually about the theme of the Threshold Guardian, who is painted so beautifully and so clearly in this piece. And there's so many aspects of it that really do resonate. And I think all of us midlife women can recognize ourselves in the piece. I do have a couple of craft questions that I wouldn't mind talking about. Um, the first question I have is in the piece, the critic, the critic who gets her hair done, she speaks in italics like throughout the piece, so she's very recognizable. And I was wondering when you found that voice, did she arrive to you already talking and already saying these things, or did you only discover her when you were writing this specific piece?
She's always that voice in my head. It's actual audio. I hear. Are you kidding? Who are you kidding? Um, and she sounds. I've never actually sat and thought about her though. Like I've never actually put her in. But when I was writing, because I literally started writing it like this,
Yeah.
which is lovely. I was reading um the call out, and I felt myself sitting like that, and I was like, oh, I wanna write a piece for this, and I immediately heard, "Don't be ridiculous." Um, and because I have to, because I've been spending, the last few years going, "You can say that, I'm gonna do it anyway." Um, I just hear her. So and like, like, I'm literally sitting at my desk that I wrote it at, and she was here. She was sitting on the desk when she went. That's when, and she did say, "Are you calling me fat?" It's 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 like
which is a very funny line.
Because I mean, that was my sense of humor all through my life. So I'm she doesn't it doesn't surprise me when she does stuff like that because well, when I hear that because that's just I used to say I say stuff like that to people, it's just I like sarcasm and I like quips and things like that. So it doesn't surprise me that's how she is. But yeah, there's no it wasn't a construct. I wasn't writing going, now how am I going to make her
Uh-huh.
be this for me? She was that's who she is for me. So it was just I just because I brain dump when I write, so it was just like I sat there and I wrote, and I obviously think it was disjointed, so, there's reworking and stuff like that, but she just kept saying things to me, or I would remember what she said to me at uni, "Don't be ridiculous. No one cares, you're not even that good."
Yeah, I call mine my mean girl, and, I know we
Yeah.
probably all have one. And again, that's gonna be a great conversation, in the salon. In terms of her grooming, so she has these ragged nails, and then she's got the talons, and then she's got her hair done, and then her nails are buffed and softened. It's tracked so deliberately. So I'm wondering if the conceit of that concept was already in the first draft, or is it something that you built in as you revised?
Oh, that was a built-in because, initially, uh, it was, because I see you can see them pointing at you, like that sort of stuff, and it was a day that I had, um, I need to see, I broke a nail. So I was, you know, aware of it when typing because it was empty, and it just sort of hit me,
Yeah,
that's what it looks like, but and then I thought, well, she's anyone who's that hell-bent on putting you down usually wants to big themselves up. So straight away I said, "If you're gonna point at someone, your nails wanna look good," it was like that made sense to me that, "Oh, broken nail, I'm gonna fix that." you know? And then, it was just logical to me that somebody like that would have Karen hair or,
yeah,
you know, fabulous hair. You saw. So it was kind of like that first part. The end part, um, I think at the end I hadn't had her at the end it was just well done, the first straight through, and then when I read it through again, I was like, "Well, that's not how it would end." Like, there's no way she'd just suddenly turn and go, "Nice one." So, I kinda got the thought of her begrudgingly saying it and being like, that was the feeling I got with that. So it took a few to get, like, the logic of that through, but it was definitely something that I saw her doing, and it just sort of came through.
yeah.
Yeah.
The anniversary card and and your ex saying, "I see you, but I don't love you." That's where the essay stops being more of an advisory essay and where it just starts bleeding. And so I'm curious, and I think that it's probably something that everyone who is trying to write really authentic, honest essays would be curious about, which is how hard was it to leave that stuff in? And did your guardian, try and talk you out of it? A lot of the submissions that I did receive for the magazine stop short of that most important part, which is the bleeding onto the page. So how hard was it to leave in, and did your guardian try and talk you out of leaving that in the essay?
Um, yeah, that was the most exposed any of my writing's been since I've started back on this, and it is difficult because I have a son that I am trying to protect from knowing things like that. So, he knows this is happening, but he hasn't read the piece, and he won't for a while anyway because he's 14. Um, I did Yeah, I did take that out. Well, not it's more that I softened it. Like, I had removed actually, the literal lines he said were, "I see you," and then a longer explanation of which basically melds
Yeah.
down to "I don't love you." Um, I had written the original like, paragraph, and, you get to that point where it wasn't even that it was too exposing, it was just unnecessary. I don't think the minutia
Yep.
matters when you're hitting a point and it's just like everybody who could read that has been in a situation like that or something really, really similar where you just get that gut punch. And I she didn't yeah, it was very much like, ugh, it's really hard. It's really hard to leave that in. And and then I thought, well, it's who I am now. It's part of who I am. It's part of what's made me who I am. And it doesn't matter anymore. I don't have a gut punch from that, which was really nice to realize when I wrote it. It was like, huh, that doesn't hurt anymore.
Yeah.
Mm. So yeah, I left it in.
And what a fine example of editing, because, had you had any other words in that sentence, "I see you, but I don't love you," it would have really taken away the gut punch for the reader, right? And I think there is this, constant, uh desire of writers to say, "Well, I need to show everything, right? I need to tell you everything that happened." And having the ability to look at that piece and say, Yes, there's a lot there that matters to me, but it won't matter to the person who's reading it, because really it's just the core message of what he's saying that matters to the person." And that is just really excellent editing on your part, because
Thank
for
you.
the reader, it really truly is just a gut punch. You end on Let's go back to what you said when you said you changed the ending, and you choose to end on "till next time" rather than you having a true victory over her. Can you talk a little bit about why, craft-wise, and why in the writing you chose, not to heal her all the way and to let her still have that piece of struggle, within the writing itself?
I actually when I read it and I was continuing editing and I kept getting to that ending, it always felt disingenuous because that's not true. And I think the most healed person in the world would still say that they've got times where they self-doubt or that they don't let, they let the voice in their head at least give them pause. And I think it would be, you would have read this story and you would have been feeling it or you would have understood where I was coming from. And then you get to the end, you go, really? I just didn't feel that it was true. And the truth was all I was trying to lay on the page at this particular point. And I thought, I can't just
Yeah.
go, look at me, I've gotten through and I don't listen to her anymore. Yay. That's not true at all in any shape. So, um, and I just really did want to tie back the hair just a tiny bit towards the end. I just felt like it just needed that extra ribbon. And and it just made more sense and it was more true. There was much more truth in that. So yeah.
Yeah, it's very brave of you as a writer to make that choice, because I think that's another really good example of editing when you add something in, right? So when you recognize that you have missed something out that's very important for the reader, and you add
Yeah.
it back in. So that's another good example. I'm going to ask you one more question, and then I'm going to open it up to those folks that are here on the Substack Live to type something into the chat, if they have a question about your piece, so that I can actually ask you the question. So if you guys have any questions at all, please join us in the chat. And then I'm just going to ask you a very last question, which is based on my favorite line, which is, you said, the essay names the exact thing, right, that stopped you, which was writing about your divorce from high above it. And my favorite line is "artifice dressed in black." Um, it's such a it's a vivid image, that explains exactly what you were going through. So this is a writer, you diagnosing your own evasion on the page. So what changed between you writing it the first way, as "artifice dressed in black," and writing it with the truth and the honesty and the authenticity, which is what I'm looking for the Story Room magazine, because these are the types of stories and this is the type of writing that midlife women need to gather around, because these are both the issues, the themes, and actually the craft that we need to be focusing on, which is authenticity. So I'm just wondering, what was it that gave you that dramatic shift from, I'm writing this as if I'm looking at it, and no, I really need to write this as it truly is.
Yeah, it's been the time it's taken between the 2 points, so, like, really, like, point A, point B. I've been writing with my, friend, the collaboration, for over a year, maybe a year and a half, and, um, that was what struck me. We have scrapped everything I wrote for the first at least half of what we've been working on, um, because I was yeah, I'd forgotten how to write as me. I was just and I definitely did not want to dive. I did not want to expose myself in any way. I wasn't ready. I wasn't far enough away from it. I hadn't found that I had my voice again, like as in who I truly was. So I was, my God, I mean, there's washing machine metaphors in there and storms and, the carnage afterwards and the cleanup. And I mean, it was, I mean, even now I'm thinking of it and I can be my own threshold guardian on that one. It was crap. And so it was just something that um, I wasn't at all authentic. It was ridiculous. So because we write it, we get together every week and we're always working on it. It just forces you. That I think that's what I love. What I love about Substack is whether there's an audience or not, it forces me every week. Publish Friday morning, so it's like a permission slip to just
Yeah.
lay the truth down and see how you feel about it. And then the more I did that, the more I was doing that, the better it got, the quicker it got. I found early I'd struggle to just write one Substack post and I'd write maybe 200 words in a download. And I'd be looking at that going, well, where's that going to go and how am I going to shape that? Until I hit my idea of just the single word and it gives me something direct to focus on. And then I just sit and I write and I usually get about 1,000 words in a dump. And so what I'm finding, it's been it's not like that was last week and this week. It has been, a couple of
Yeah.
years between, but it was the constant working at it and sort of reintegrating myself and who I am and what I want back into what I say, which then made it more authentic. So it just took time, but yeah, you just got to keep doing it in showing up and doing your best you can the way you feel that moment and not punishing yourself for it if it's not as good as you would like. Because how can you learn? So
So
it's just
tell us a
time.
bit about your writing practice, because I think everyone probably on the call just heard you say that you write with someone else, with a partner, helping you. And I think that that would be something we would like to hear about. How does that work for you?
With the divorce book, is that what I missed? There was a snap in what you said. I missed a piece. Um,
Oh, sorry. I You said you write with every week with a partner.
oh, right, right, right. Yeah, one of my oldest friends, 30 plus year friendship. We just meet once a week just to discuss we've got the shape of we've got a draft done. Like it's just one of those. We write our own pieces. We then use Notebook LM. It's been a very
Yep.
handy sort of archive where we wrote the book outline, we plotted the book, we wrote the outline, etc. And then we both just write brain dumps. We've always done that. So we don't write together. We don't write a piece and like a writer's room for a sitcom or something like that. We write individual pieces. We upload those into a notebook. I think I mentioned on somebody's comment that one time we were going through it all and she was reading a piece and I went, oh, what's that one? She goes, yours. And I was like, "Which one's that?" And she said it, and I was like, "Oh, yeah," because it had that one had been a massive brain dump, and I didn't even remember writing it. It was just through me, and I chucked it into the drive that we share and then onto Notebook. Those I really appreciate because then I feel like they're actual like, that's fully me coming out onto the page, and it helps to have that back and forth. We read each other's stuff, we, discuss it in where we think it'll fit. Um, it's I think it's just nice to have another person to sort of bounce off. That's the hardest part about writing anything of my own, is that lack of like, when I was helping my ex with all of his stuff, he used me for that, like, he was, "I'm so stuck, I don't know. I've got I've got a 1,700 word article to do, and I've got 2,100 words, and I can't kill my darlings," and I'm like, "Hand it over, half an hour
Yeah.
later, here you go." Um, I prefer that, but I don't have that apart from so in my own unarchived work, it's just me. But I guess I could use my friend if I needed to. So I kinda have a writing sounding board if I need it for my stuff, but I do need it for the stuff that we're collaborating on. So it helps.
I think yeah, I think it's amazing to have someone, else to talk
Mm.
to about your stuff, and, I would advise everyone on the call, if you don't have a writing buddy or buddies, to definitely try and find one because it's super helpful and it's evident. Having a piece read out loud, makes it evident how well edited it is because, reading out loud definitely you hear it differently, when it's read out loud than you do when you read it to yourself,
Yes, I
so we
do
don't have
recommend
any
that.
questions. Yeah. We don't have any questions, everyone's really quiet, unless I'm not doing it properly, which, is always the chance that I'm not, but I've clicked on chat. Oh, here we have Susan. Hi, Susan. We're gonna be speaking to Susan as well at some point. So Susan would like to know, oh gosh, she has a tough question. What happens with the voice of the guardian after you hit submit and you can't take it back? That's when I really hear mine.
Oh, at the moment, because I'm a lot happier with what I'm getting out, like, the time I'm taking to get to get what I want from here and here out, I'm not as, I I I have that classic, "Oh, the typo," or, "Oh, I should have said that better," or whatever, but she's I actually have her I hear her way more before I hit the send. Once I've hit it, it's almost like in my head, she's like, "Well, nothing I can do." I think that's how I've always operated, so because she's part of me, maybe that's why she sort of lets up, like, it's done. I can't do anything about it now, so I don't really get too much pushback unless I've been too hasty. If I've unprepared and I've just had to get something in quick, then she'll be like, yeah, that's on you for not doing it sooner," and then you get the shame and the guilt for not giving yourself the time you needed. But apart from that, if I've done the work, um, and I've done the best that I think I can do before I hit send, then I usually find that she's kind of like, well, sucks to be you if it's bad, and then just off she twaddles. So it's not so bad. I
The send button is her kryptonite. So just silence
think.
her,
Yes.
right? Um, Carol would like to know if you ever have seasons where your guardian's voice is louder or softer.
Wow. I would never even I would never have thought of it, Carol. I don't know about seasons, but definitely, outside influences affecting, where I'm at. Like, if my son's really unhappy, he's a teenage boy. But if he's not doing great, I'm a failure as a mother. It's nothing to do with me. He's a teenager and he's, 14 and we have a phenomenal relationship and we talk a lot and he understands blah, blah, blah. Doesn't stop her telling me that I must have let him down in some way. So yeah, she's not just about writing. I think that's just life. But because my life's pretty quiet right now, I just adore not being married and going through the aftermath of that. I love the peace of this. I feel like I'm off the wake of the boat and I'm just like tripping along. So it's only, I think, when I'm actually attempting something that will expose me in some way, like writing something like this, then I get, that's when she comes back and she's like, ha ha, good luck. Here I am. Apart from that, I'm pretty okay with the daily minutiae. Like she just sits there and there's like a little low hum in my background. Yeah.
Well, she's certainly a threshold guardian that you have trained, and that's the goal of what you need to do with your threshold guardian, get inside their brain, figure out how you can train them, and we're going to talk much more about that at the salon. So, on August 16th, we will be having the Story Room Salon where we will invite the winners, like Di and Susan, and the runners up to join us for the first 30 minutes to have a discussion of the theme on the Threshold Guardian. And then for the next 60 minutes, all of the paid subscribers or anyone who submitted a piece to this particular issue will join us for a nice conversation about the theme of the Threshold Guardian. So I'm really looking forward to that,
Mhm.
and us all getting together at the salon. I'll give you the last word, Di. Is there anything you would like to say about the craft of your piece and um, what you have written about?
um, the crafting, I guess, it was really good for me to do something to a theme. Quite often, I just have a thought, an idea, and I just write 1,000 words or whatever, or part of the divorce thing. So to have to actually structure something deliberately uh, around my brain dump was really, really, really good for my craft. Um,
Mhm.
because I haven't been exercising that muscle. Because I guess for me, having done it for so long for somebody else and uh, it not be part of my life anymore, just to have that need, just to actually have to step away. I don't know other people's rhythm for something like that, but I wouldn't edit as I wrote, and I also wouldn't edit straight away. So I would write and I'd leave it and walk away because I needed to come back and read it fresh, like I wasn't the person who wrote it, so I could understand that needs to go there, or there's no arc. Like I hadn't added the pulse back in until
Mhm.
a number of edits later because I realized it was almost like, well, why is that there? It was there because it was genuine, like that's a bracing position, but then it didn't have it didn't close the circle. So um, normally when I write quickly, whatever, put it aside for the divorce, put it aside for this, whatever. But this forced me to go back and actually sort of take care of where things went, understand what needed to be closed, what loops were left open, what um what I was doing with this or these to actually pay off. I didn't want to leave any threads untied. So it forced me to have to actually just keep going back to it. So I edited this little 1,600 word piece way more than I've edited anything in
Mm.
5 years, 6 years. Um, because I cared and I liked that I cared. I liked that it was my words that I was saying and not somebody else's. So it mattered. And so it was worth the time to go back and just keep checking that I'd closed the loops. So yeah.
I just want to point out to everyone on the call, I know I said I'd give you the last word, but you brought up something super important. And that is, you're talking about closing the loops is different than resolving the question. And I think that like a lot of the best writing comes from folks who sit in the uncertainty. And that's certainly what
Mm,
you did in this piece. And it was, even though you closed the loops beautifully and from a craft perspective, you didn't grasp for a resolution or try and teach us a lesson. You let us sit in your uncertainty with you, and it was beautiful. So, really well done, Di. A beautiful piece. And
thank you.
thank you so much for joining Australia at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, 2:45.
Quarter to three. Okay, you need to go to bed.
I do.
Yeah. So, we will see you again at the salon. Congratulations again for your winning piece, and this
Thank
was
you.
the first author's table. So I hope that you enjoyed.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate everything, and I loved being part of this, and I loved reading the others, some of them. So I don't know how you did it. That's an extraordinary achievement.
Yeah. It's a
Amazing
lot of
work.
reading because I have committed to reading every piece, but I love it. I love reading the pieces. It's the
Right.
community. So, it's the community I want to connect with. And so reading
Mm,
the pieces is fabulous and so much fun when you get to read them in the final magazine. So
yeah. Oh, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I'll be there next week with Susan.
great. Thank you very much, everyone. And I hope you enjoyed it. And we will see you next week for the fiction aspect of the Story Room magazine. Bye.
Ah.